Hello everyone, my name is Katy and you're watching my channel Superconsole, where I am back from a rather long break, but it's okay because I'm ready to talk about the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, the new game for the NX and Wii U, which I was lucky enough to play a good 30 minutes of at E3 last week before. Then I got back and unfortunately fell unwell, and then it was my birthday, so I've had a bit of time off, but I've collated my thoughts on Zelda and I'm ready to talk about it. So I was lucky enough to try 2 demos on the show floor. The first one was a kind of find your feet exercise. They plopped you in the middle of nowhere on the Great Plateau, which is a kind of large area at the centre of the map of Breath of the Wild. And then they were just like, do whatever you want, explore. You've got, 15 or so minutes to just do whatever the hell you want. And I just spent most of my time running around, trying to catch bugs, attack bokoblins, try and explore some secrets, climb some stuff. And then the second part of the demo, the other 15 minutes, was more story-based, more looking into the Sheikah Stone element.
Open your eyes.
In terms of the story, the core plot driving Breath of the Wild still seems a mystery at large, but here's what I gathered from the second demo I played. The game starts with Link waking up in a place called the Temple of Resurrection, where Link picks up the Sheikah Slate, a key item in Breath of the Wild and something we previously spotted on earlier artwork. The Sheikah Slate is a tablet containing ancient powers and seems to awaken other ancient shrines, monsters and artifacts. The game later explains that the Sheikah are an advanced civilization living in Hyrule who continuously save the land from evil. However, their people, power and knowledge seems to have disappeared some time ago, with only a few pieces of Sheikah history remaining in shrines across the land. As Link leaves the temple, a voice tells him he is the light and the saviour of Hyrule, and he soon runs into an old man who informs him that he is standing in an area called the Great Plateau, the birthplace of the Kingdom of Hyrule. Link discovers that he's been asleep for 100 years, going to stasis after a catastrophic event where a beast known as Calamity Ganon wiped out most of civilization, destroying everything in its path. In the distance, Link can see the shadowy Calamity Ganon gliding around Hyrule Castle, which is apparently the kingdom's purest symbol, able to contain Ganon's evil. But Ganon is slowly building its power, ready to break free from the castle once it's regained its true power, bringing the end of the world. And who better to stop this from happening? A rather sleepy Link, of course. Breath of the Wild's core quest is for Link to journey to Hyrule Castle and take down Calamity Ganon before the beast fully restores itself. But getting to Hyrule Castle isn't that easy, as jumping off the Great Plateau will lead to certain death. So the old man offers Link his paraglider in exchange for treasures from each of the ancient shrines which have been awoken by the Sheikah Slate dotted around the area. But even knowing this, Breath of the Wild still leaves us with many questions, such as what really happened 100 years ago when Link went into sleep and Ganon seemed to take over the world? Where have the Sheikah gone, and where has everyone else gone? I guess Breath of the Wild, in this circumstance, feels a bit like a post-apocalyptic Zelda game, which is interesting, and I'm really keen to see what more is going to come of this.
But I guess what I'm going to be debating in my own mind is this open world full of life? Does it feel lived in? Does it feel real? Do I feel immersed? Does it have enough things to do, places to go, people to see? And crucially, are Nintendo just fixing what's not already broken? Are they really adding something to the game rather than just taking away things that we love, like cutting the grass with our sword? So the first thing I'm going to discuss is art style, because I guess when you look at the gameplay, that's the first thing that you kind of notice about the trailers, or if you played it, is how it looks. And for me, I think it looks beautiful. I think it's a style which works well with the graphical capabilities of the Wii U, but I'm hoping with NX it's going to really push it and we're going to see kind of a new level of detail in there. I guess it's very reminiscent of Japanese anime style kind of art style, but then when you look closer and you listen to some of the Treehouse presentations, they were talking about how it's kind of influenced and inspired by Japanese open-air painting, and that's kind of where it's not even just Japanese, it's open-air painting in general, where you sit down in front of a subject and you just get out your little easel and you paint away, and it's kind of being immersed in the environment in front of the subject, all kind of a natural feel. And I think that's kind of the main overarching tone of the whole game. It's the wildness, it's the natural kind of environment, and I think that comes across really well. The colours, it's all very earthy, very natural, and it's really beautiful. I think it's like when you play The Witcher and every time you go to a new location you just think, that could be on a postcard. I think that's the kind of feeling you get with the new Zelda Breath of the Wild. I think when you go to the top of a mountain and you look over across the expanse, you see so many things in the distance and you think, any angle of this I could screenshot and put as my desktop background. And I think that's what makes something truly beautiful. That is the definition of beauty right there. In terms of music, I think this is also quite heavily inspired on the new natural world, open world setting, because rather than having themed kind of tracks which play as you go into certain areas or as you discover new things or as the story develops, like we had in like Twilight Princess or Ocarina of Time, in Breath of the Wild everything is a bit more subtle and piano or woodwind based, and it all feels slightly more environmental rather than kind of in your face massive orchestral tune. Like, you'll be walking around the Great Plateau and then you'll hear like these little distant mutterings of a piano like kind of coming in, but most of it will be like you can hear the sound of the crickets, you can maybe hear like a little bokoblin outpost like bleating just in the distance. It's much more focused on engaging you within the environment and within the kind of world that's surrounding you, rather than pulling you back and making you think of this overarching sound. And I think that's quite important. Noise is a very important component of Breath of the Wild, mainly due to its new gameplay mechanics. For example, in the bottom right hand part of the screen, there's a kind of like sound gauge and noise level gauge, and this kind of tracks how loud you're being as you're crawling through the environment so that you can focus more on your stealthiness as you're attacking bokoblin outposts. It's more about subtle environmental sounds and feeling immersed and kind of grounded in the environment. I'm sounding mental, but when you listen to it, you'll get it, you'll understand. So I've already kind of touched a little bit on gameplay, but I guess the most important thing to say from the get-go is this is obviously an open world non-linear experience. You can do whatever you want in your own time, you don't have to go after the main quest. There'll be small hints which guide you through the story and get you into the next area, and I do believe that some areas are going to be locked or inaccessible until you've completed certain parts of the overarching story. So the first thing that I noticed, I guess, when I started playing Breath of the Wild was how instantly, as you looked out across the horizon, how many little enemy outposts there were. Like, I mean, the Great Plateau seems to be all about bokoblins because they were in their little gangs everywhere. And I guess that's the point, that you meant to go over there and start looting them and taking them down. But I spent a lot of time sneaking up on little bokoblin areas, taking them all down in various ways with various weapons, because there are a ridiculous amount of weapons to attack with. Like, for example, if you fight an undead bokoblin, you can even use their severed arm as a weapon. Like, there's just so much kind of variety in the ways that you're playing and the kind of styles that you go for. If you're really into like bow and arrow, they've got you covered. There's loads of bow and arrows. If you're more into like proper like dual-handed sword kind of gameplay, that's fine. You like a trident, go over and over a trident. You're more of a hippie, there's sticks. You can use sticks. There's anything you like, rocks, anything can become your weapon. There's now a lot more focus on how and when you use weapon items as well, and of course your weapons take damage this time. There's also a lot more focus on environments and how that affects you, how you're playing, and your items. For example, if I am going into a kind of cold area, you need to make sure that you put on like a kind of padded jacket or something that's going to keep you warmer, otherwise you lose health quite quickly and you die, which isn't great. And in the same way, you might be climbing a really big mountain, and of course it gets colder the higher you climb, so you have to kind of think about that and take the right kind of items and the right kind of equipment before you attempt these things. And I think it's something that an RPG like Zelda will use to its advantage, because it makes the whole experience feel more believable. But that's not all. There's also a weather and day and night cycle, which is so cool, because that means that the environment around you changes based on what's going on. For example, if it's nighttime, then your enemies might be sleeping, making it easier for you to sneak up on them. Maybe you don't even need to engage them in combat at all. You can just go in, loot them, and then go back out again without burning everyone alive. That's fine. That's an okay way to play. Enemies can also behave quite differently depending on what the weather is like, just something to watch out for. Winds can also spread fire. That's cool, which means that if you are flinging some kind of lit torch, you can spread it across the grass, hit some explosive barrels and destroy an enemy base, which is mean, but cool. And in the same way, you can climb almost any surface now. So you see that mountain distance, you can climb it. You're seeing maybe some ancient artifact that's just popped up in the middle of the plateau. You can climb that, and there'll probably be some treasure on top of it to make it worth your while. Of course, saying that you have enough stamina to make it to the top. So moving on to cooking, I'm sure you've already seen the GIFs and videos that are circulating all around the internet. But yeah, cooking is a thing, and it's very much like Monster Hunter style cooking, and it's awesome. So Breath of the Wild is really focused on resource gathering, if you can't tell already, from weapons to items to everything. It also means scouring the landscape around you and finding mushrooms or plants or anything like that that can possibly go into your pot. So the way cooking works is that you'll get a variety of ingredients, bang them in a lit stove, and you'll get an item out of that or a meal out of that, which will affect certain stats. That won't just mean regenerating hearts, that could also mean making your stamina increase, making you stay warmer for longer, or various other things like that. And oh my god, have you seen the little animation that Link does as he's like cooking away and there's a little whistle? It's so cute. But not every combination of food turns out for the better. Some stuff just isn't edible. I'm sure we've all done it in the past. Some stuff you will try and put everything you can in a pot to see if it works. Just isn't going to work. Link has that same problem, so you have to actually be careful and use recipes that you know are going to work. So that also includes bugs and other bits like that, so you can spend time sneaking up on bugs, catching them, put them in your pot for dinner. Good times. So does The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild feel like an alive, immersive, open world game? Well, for me personally at the moment, I'm going to say yes. It doesn't have as much going on in it, possibly as we might like at the moment, but then I've only been to one area. I can't say for sure that the Great Plateau is an example of what the rest of the world will be like. I'm sure when we play it we'll be wowed, as I was wowed when I played the demo only. That made my E3. That was the only game that mattered for me at E3. A lot of people have pointed out that it's not running at a smooth 30 frames per second. We're on the Wii U, and I feel that the NX will hopefully remedy all of this. And I think it comes down to whether or not people want to invest in a new console or they want something for their Wii U. I will probably get both. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you're as excited as me about The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Yes, it's finally coming. Can't believe we actually got to play it. I'm so over the moon about it, and it was like 2 weeks ago. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye! Because obviously Hyrule looks quite different now. So, that was a fart sound that I made with my hand. That was weird.